10 coats of paint stained in tobacco.
Howdy ho, Victoria Taft with you, the adult in the room. And I've been in the news business for a long time, a very long time, and we have lots to tell you about today. Going to get to it and also get to the State of the Union address. We're going to talk a little bit about that, what's happening, the hockey big wins in the hockey Olympics matches, and let's see what else. Oh, yeah. Might be some stuff going on with respect to Iran. We'll talk to an expert about that. Let's see, what else? Oh, Portland antics again, and how this extortion scam is being run by Antifa. So we'll tell you about that. It's in Portland, and it's quite interesting, actually. Did want to tell you a couple of things. First off, about the State of the Union address, which is going to be tonight. I understand. I thought it was at 9, and then I saw that it was at 8. This is Eastern time, and the thing is that it's okay because when you tune in, he's still going to be talking. What happened there? I don't know if anybody can hear that, but something just automatically played. I have no idea what the hell that's doing. That's insane. Just insane. Unbelievable. Anyway, hey, Alex, did you by any chance hear that? Because that's actually a win if we heard that, because we can't hear anything even though I have it on the proper stuff. I've got the buttons pushed and all that jazz. And for whatever reason. Oh, you didn't hear it. Okay. Okay. Good. It's just wild. All of a sudden it comes back out of the space. So the State of the Union address is the address that is made by the President of the United States the second year in office, right? So the first year they don't call it a State of the Union because they all pretend that that the guy or gal, well, all guys, so heretofore, have not really had an opportunity to change the axis of the earth, the different ways in which the United States of America works. And so they call it a different thing the first year in office, but it's basically a laundry list. Every single year it's a doggone laundry list, and it's kind of boring. But sometimes it's exciting, and you just have to watch it to find out what's going on. And today the hockey team's going to be there. The men's hockey team is going to be ensconced in that small 435 seat place of the house, so they can have all sorts of things going on there. You have different gatherings in that place. I've sat in there before in my one time I've been there. And so the teams will be there, or the men's team's going to be there. The women's team, well, they had to wash their hair. And they were like really busy. And like they were mind blown. Yeah, sure, we came in extra, the extra time, and we won. We beat Canada, and then the men came along, and then they got an extra time, and they won, and they beat Canada. And so everybody's invited, but the women, I'm going to tell you something before I really get into it. One time, and one time only, have I ever told a prospective date that I could not go out with him because I needed to wash my hair. And in a family of 5 with one bathroom, 3 girls, all of whom are vying for bathroom time, that actually meant something. And so anyway, so they apparently live in the same circumstance as the women's hockey team. And so they just couldn't possibly break themselves away to go to the State of the Union address and be the guest of the President of the United States. I mean, really, let's get down to it. Are you really going to go if he's Hitler? They're so dumb. I mean, they said they have educational and professional things that they have to do. Not that being at the, if being invited by the President of the United States wouldn't have enhanced all that stuff, but, nah. They had to wash their hair. They had to vie for that, single spot in the old bathroom. And there you go. Okay, so a couple of things. Did you want to hear them singing? Because we do have video of the women's team singing. Let's just do that before I have to go and get serious with you. Here we go. Here they are. Some of them actually know the words. Da 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 da. Listen to this. You talk entirely too much. I'm just here for a wife. Well, I'm married, and he thinks I talk too much too. So that's why I do it on here. Okay, so the women's hockey team, gonzo. Then we have the men's hockey team. Now this was an interesting thing. So the guys team, they get shuttled off from after winning morning of Sunday morning, basically. And finally, it's Sunday evening, and my husband and I watch, and holy hell, that was a crazy, crazy battle. A defensive battle. Now, the goalie was unbelievable. That guy was amazing. And they had, I think Canada had like twice as many shots on goal as did the Americans. And they just kept the puck out of the old net the whole night. It was an incredible feat. Incredible. They outskated them, did everything. Canada had no chance. Okay. And that's the truth. And so here they come back to Miami, and they go clubbing last night. Apparently they are, the red carpet has been rolled out for these guys, and they go clubbing last night, and they're at a club, and they lead the club, boom, 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 boom. Recently I've been in a Las Vegas club. My daughters took me. I mean, it's like, woo! It loud. Very loud. It's so crammed that they spray you with nitrogen so that it cools things off. I mean, this is quite a deal. And I didn't want to stay up all night to see the featured DJ, because that guy, I think it was a guy, he comes on at like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, TikTok, baby, no, not happening on my watch. But there you go. Anyway, so here they are at the club. We've never done this when I've been to a club. Watch this. Okay, that's exactly. Wait. That is exactly what you do. Oh, no. Go away. You're not supposed to be on. Okay, so here's the singing part I wanted you to see. This is at a club. By the dawn's early light. So they get the whole crowd going. Okay, we get the point. Hey, Dude Coder says, where is all the viewers? Because Dude Coder. Yeah, I'd love to know that. Do you think it's because we were reported to YouTube when we talked about Portland Antifa and the incident with a drive-by against Tommy Boy in front of the ICE or around the ICE headquarters? Do you think that could have been it? That, sitting there talking and seeing that there was thousands of people there, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're throttled. Could it be that? Dude Code. Could it be that? All right. Then pretty soon thereafter, here they are, and they are leading everyone into a crazy fest, a wonderful hockey party, if you will. This is worth watching all the way through. Yeah, the women's team probably wasn't, they probably weren't doing that. They weren't doing that. So they're not going to be at the State of the Union address because, we chicks have to stay together. I mean, there are no people, conservative chicks at all, period. Did you not know that? What wave feminism are we on? What is it? Are we fifth wave, fourth wave? I don't even know. It sort of passed me by. You know what my friend said one time? Long-time person who is a woman. She goes, the only thing feminism got me was an extra job. And I think, think about that. All right, so now the big story for me today, besides what's going on in Iran and if we're going to have a war with them and much more. Plus, I'm going to talk to you about the tariffs decision. And so by all means, share this, like it, make sure people are watching it. Here's why. Because as I said, from Dude Coder, probably one of those who reported us to YouTube for telling the story about Antifa Portland and a drive-by shooting. And this is not that. They still have not arrested the woman who did the shooting with a pellet gun. So every day, almost every day, I get in touch with the Portland Police Bureau and I say, hey, you guys, have you arrested this chick yet? Oh, my gosh, no, we haven't. I mean, they literally have it on film. And in the actual recording is why we were throttled by YouTube. So, you showed the GUN. My God, what the hell's going on? This is terrible. Anyway, I've been going to Mexico for spring break. Just checking. Now, let me know if you're going, and if so, where you're going. By all means, comment live. So, here we go. This is a woman who, a few months ago, last October actually, was featured in her own video mocking her barricading ICE officers in Hillsboro, Oregon. And she puts it up. She thinks it's hilarious. And then she's put up a confession video about it. Here's her confession video. This is what a confession video looks like. This is when you get up there and you tell everybody what you did.
Myself on TikTok, so forgive me if I'm awkward or stumble through it. But how did this end? The second ICE vehicle, which was carrying the third ICE officer, pulled up, and as we were distracted, the original vehicle, which was the minivan carrying two ICE officers, pulled around into the apartment complex, ran over a couple of hedges that were probably 6 feet tall and got away. A couple other comrades followed them all the way up to Highway 26, which has a pretty fast speed limit, so they got away from that point. But we were able to report their vehicles, their faces, their VIN numbers, and that's kind of what I wanted to post about today. I wanted to let everyone know what the best next steps are if you're going to do something like this. First, if you're in Portland, Hillsborough, anywhere in Oregon really, please get very comfortable with the acronym PIRC. It's the Portland Immigrants' Rights Coalition.
So she talks about this, she calls it PIRC. And so she basically told on herself there. And she, anybody ever watched the video, Never Talk to a Cop? I've watched it multiple times. And I have to say, this is a wonderful, it's a wonderful expenditure of your time. This is a video that you will never forget. You will definitely want to watch it, because what they do is they tell you that there's a cop and a lawyer who do this lecture for law students. And basically the lecture says, okay, here's what you do. If you ever want somebody to confess to a crime, you have them write a letter to the person against whom they've just committed said crime. And when you're done and they get it all off their chest, you know what they're going to do? You book them because they've just confessed to a crime. Okay? So that's how that works. So here, when she's talking, well, now here's what I just did. Here's what I did.
This video.
Yeah.
The very first thing you should do if you ever see ICE activity, suspect ICE activity, is call PIRC.
Yeah. So that's a confession video. And then she did something else. This is wild. She did a video mocking ICE, which, you could do that. There's no law against that. But of course, it's still up. She labeled everybody who was there blocking the ICE vehicles. Do you realize that she's not arrested yet? It's just wild. So they mock them, they dox them, they report them, they sick other people on them, and that's what they did. Okay. Now look at I want you to note here that she takes video of the license plate because it's important for the rest of this story. I think this is really funny. These guys have to go through a hedge. Okay, so that's where we stop. We stop at the fact that they are taking down the numbers and stuff like that. Okay, fair enough. Blocking federal officers is a federal felony. I think that they could have used force should they have wished to, and they would have been supported, but they knew that this was probably a bad idea to do it in Portland, and especially when they were surrounded, but they could have gotten themselves out. In the meantime, they were able to get out by going and driving through a hedge, which I'm sure that the federal government has got to pay for because they were forced to at the behest of these guys who blocked their way. Okay. So she thought that was hilarious. Well, guess what? She's back. This woman, her name is Kylie Delgado, and she and her husband own the 649 bar in Beaverton, Oregon. They live in Hillsborough, but they also own a business in Beaverton, Oregon, in the west side of Portland.
Several months ago, when different activism groups started logging ICE license plates, I had this nagging fear of what could happen eventually, and that nagging fear is becoming true. And that is that license plates that have been confirmed and vehicles that have been confirmed as ICE are now being returned by companies like Hertz and Enterprise into their regular commercial fleet and rented by regular citizens like you and I, like your grandma.
Please appreciate what you just heard. She is saying that those cars that the ICE was renting like anybody, well, they've been all marked now. They've been, cycled through PERC and all those other organizations. And people who are ICE watchers are now going to follow them. And she's terrified that grandma and grandpa are going to get hurt. Listen.
Grandma and grandpa, like your niece and nephew. And these people have no idea the history of these vehicles that they're driving around. Not only that, these vehicles are being used in the same area in which ICE agents were renting them. And so, regardless of a database that some people may have access to or not, to look up those license plates, a lot of regular citizens who have been harassed for months on end have memorized these plates. They know which cars to avoid. They know which cars are ICE. And now regular citizens are being asked to drive these vehicles.
Regular citizens are being asked to drive these vehicles? No, they're going to a rental agency and they're renting a car to drive in the state of Oregon and probably in Washington as well. Here's an interesting little factoid for those of you who care two hoots about the law. And it's this. You know those cars, these well-known car rental agencies go over state lines all the time. They go over state lines, and that means that this is interstate commerce, which means that as a result of there being a national organization, a company, and then the vehicles that they rent being ones that go over state lines, this is a national issue. And that means that the feds can get involved. Because not that they couldn't get involved with this chick anyway, but now watch. She continues to impugn and tell on herself. Let's watch.
With no knowledge of their history. I want Hertz and Enterprise to be held accountable. I want them tagged in this video. I want to know their answer for this problem. It's very scary. It's very dangerous.
It's scary and dangerous that her people, her comrades, which she previously called in her previous confession video, she calls them her comrades. This is, she's afraid of her comrades. She's literally, quote unquote, terrified that they might do something to grandmother and grandfathers and nieces and nephews, grandkids, and other innocents, because her friends might hurt them because they have their number down. They might try to impede them or block them because they're ICE. Now that is an extortionate threat. That is a threat. And she's doing it, but here you go. I wrote a story. Here, let me see if I can find it over at, here we go. Let me show you this. There we go. And it's here. And my headline was, I kept my headline. Sometimes I don't. Hey, Pam Bondi, stop what you're doing and watch this terror warning from an anti-ICE Antifa terrorist. I thought I put terrorist twice in there because I wanted to, bring home the point. An Oregon Antifa terrorist we told you about last fall is back with another anti-ICE terror threat to all the grandma and grandpas who may be touring Oregon this spring break. And the threat is as see-through as this woman's empty head for putting out yet another confession video. How long will she get away with this? Well, the woman, Kylie Delgado, who was arrested for riot and interfering with police during Portland's Summer of Love riots in 2020, is part of a network of anti-ICE operatives who barricaded, threatened, doxed ICE, and at least that's what she's confessed in previous videos, as I wrote in October 2025 in my West Coast column, weekly column. Delgado and her husband Kareem, who own the I put it in Hillsborough. No, shoot, it's Beaverton. The 649 bar are seen on video blocking federal agents in a city street, forcing them to run for their lives from the Delgado's mob by driving through a 6-foot hedge. She thought their efforts were so epic that Delgado put their video to a funny song on TikTok to mock the feds for running from her comrades. She photographs herself doing this quite frequently. Indeed, she's so notorious that she bragged in one of her Facebook posts that the ICE agents know who she is and follow her TikTok account. Indeed, so brazen is she that she told Coin TV News and that she had been doing this, thus admitting guilt. Kareem Delgado says his wife Kylie called him Tuesday afternoon saying agents were in the neighborhood near theirs in Hillsborough. When Delgado got there, he found men in vests and masks who he said first identified themselves as Hillsborough police. With his wife already blocking the road going one way, Delgado used his car to block the road with the officer's van in the middle. Felt like the more the community disrupts, the more the community confronts that, the more difficult we make it for them to kidnap people, the less likely they are want to hang out in this area. Sometimes just taking up their time is the difference between them being able to detain, a working father or mother. So that's the game. There's more of that story. You can check it out. But I just thought that was pretty darned interesting. So, interesting. And so it is with the woman who continues to do this. And now she's, as I said, made another confession video. And let's listen to the rest of it where she says that she fears for the lives of the people who rent the cars that were previously used by ICE and other federal officers because somebody might get hurt, i.e. innocent people.
Or not to look up those license plates. A lot of regular citizens who have been harassed for months on end have memorized these plates. They know which cars to avoid. They know which cars are ICE. And now regular citizens are being asked to drive these vehicles with no knowledge of their history. I want Hertz and Enterprise to be held accountable. I want them tagged in this video. I want to know their answer for this problem. It's very scary. It's very dangerous.
It's very scary. It's very dangerous because they are scary and they are dangerous.
Imagine that your grandpa rents a car and he's not from the state. He has no idea what's going on.
He has no idea what's going on. He's just driving a car. Now, whose problem is that? Is that her problem or is that your problem if your grandma or grandpa driving the car? She wants to make it the car rental agency's problem.
He's driving around, all of a sudden he's being followed, and he recognizes that he's being followed, and he stops on a rural road to see what's happening, and now there's a tense situation between him, who, let's imagine he looks like, he's a white, middle-aged man in a big...
If he's white and he's middle-aged, they might think he's a nice guy, even though most of them are Hispanic. But never mind that. Forget the facts, man.
Baseball cap, and a meager watcher is there filming. That's a very tense situation that can lead to violence given the personality types of the people involved. And
I'm sorry, given the personality types of the people involved, it could be violent. So isn't that your problem, sister? Don't you actually have to tell people not to pull over these ICE vehicles anymore? Isn't that on you since you know the problem and you've been doing it for a long time? You're, in fact, one of those who reports the license numbers. You hag. You absolute harridan.
It is unfair to the people who are renting these vehicles, as well as the people who have been working hard to track ICE activity, that these companies are returning these vehicles to the regular fleet. It's selfish.
It's selfish. Okay. It's selfish. It's selfish that they are in business and they rent the cars. And the cars are now, that's what she calls them, her word, not mine, her comrades. And she thinks it's selfish that they might re-rent them to other people for a fee.
People involved. And
hey, I have a question. At the 649 pub or whatever it is in Beaverton, someone to pay for their beer or whatever it is that you serve them in your, do you try? She was she actually, what's interesting is she has one of her Facebook posts for the 649 and One of her Facebook posts says that prices are going up, and doggone it, the amount people get per hour is not. And that's just not fair. Well, she's the boss. Why doesn't she just pay him more? Is that an issue? Yes, white liberal women think they are the main characters. Yeah, well, everybody's in their own movie, Betty.
It is unfair to the people who are renting these vehicles, as well as the people who have been working hard to track ICE activity.
They've been working so hard. How dare you even question their motivations?
That these companies are returning these vehicles to the regular fleet. It's selfish. It's just gross negligence.
It's gross negligence, says she. It's not, but I have a feeling she's going to want to fulfill that prophecy of hers by making it gross negligence, because she's already threatened these people.
It is very dangerous.
It's dangerous. Her friends are dangerous.
To be a separate government fleet and commercial fleet for vehicles.
She thinks she's being helpful by telling these car rental agencies to separate their fleets out. How about that's not your problem, sister? How about that?
I don't know how to enforce this legislatively, but I do want this word to get out so that Hertz and Enterprise come up with an answer, because I'm terrified.
Because I'm terrified. Because I'm terrified. Why would she be terrified of her own friends? That's really an interesting thing. Because they're terrorists, perhaps? So why is she still walking free? That's what I want to know. So this has really gotten in my craw. I cannot imagine why that person is not even being looked at. Maybe she is in the city of Portland. But if she's not, there's a problem. Because this person has now just tripled down. Not only has she put out multiple posts, and now she says, and that one scene crash, and he goes up to the nuke, the pitcher, and says, okay, on your next pitch, I want you to hit the bull. Hit the bull. So he does. And Kevin Costner's character, Crash, said be helpful. Who cares about who rented the cars? So dumb. Well, Jackie Chan, it's not dumb if she's threatening people if they rent the vehicles. Get it? Get it? She's threatening the very existential being that is the individual behind the wheel of a car, and she's terrified, her words, not mine, that her comrades, her words, not mine, might commit an act of violence, her words, not mine, against these grandmothers and grandfathers. Watch this space. Adult in the Room podcast viewers, watch this space, because it's gonna get real. Kenneth Abramowitz is a man who's an expert on all things international. And thank you so much for coming back on the Adult in the Room podcast. Live streams are always so much fun, are they? And
there's two of us here. Who's the adult? I'm confused.
Yeah, I know. Well, not according to my. I know there's no adult here, according to the people weighing in with comments. So there you are. Okay. There is no sound. There is no. Hey, Alex, somebody's saying there's no sound. Can you check that out? You are breaking up. No sound now. Don't think it's my phone. I don't know about that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't know if anybody. We've had a couple of issues, and I'm kind of wondering if I need to get a new router, but we'll see how it goes. We have a Cat 6 sale and whatever. Anyway, yeah, you're breaking up. Are you in a car somewhere? You are, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
in a car.
Well, I tell you what, we'll make it as quick and painless as possible. And that is, tonight is the State of the Union address. And we want to know what you think about the possibility of the United States doing something even more violent in Iran.
Okay. Well, with no special knowledge, I can only guess. And so I'll pretend that I'm President Trump. And tonight I will talk about how I'm trying to create a negotiated deal with Iran. I don't think I can do it, but I'm going to try this week, and I'm going to blow them up next week. He's not exactly going to say that, but I think the implication is that if the negotiations don't work, he's going to have to move to military means.
Well, I mean, what to what end? I mean, to do what?
Well, Iran has promised to kill everyone in America, death to America.
Yeah.
They've been working on this for 47 years. They have intercontinental ballistic missile systems. They're working on nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, biological weapons. So they basically hate Christians and they hate Jews. They hate Western civilization. I call them an Islamo-Nazi death cult, and they're just
Yes, that's so true.
they're consumed with their hatred. In the history of death cults, is they die. They can't think rationally anymore. Go back to Hitler. He had to kill all the Jews. He killed 6 million Jews. He ended up killing 54 million Christians. So to me, Iran is Hitler on steroids, and President Trump cannot wait for the next Pearl Harbor, the next 9/11. And there's no negotiating with people like this. And so that's why I expect a military confrontation in March, and I hope it's over by April.
Let's go over the greatest hits of Iran. Did all the IEDs in the Iraq War. They helped and gave succor to the 9/11 hijackers. And they are behind every effort to undermine the United States. In fact, Glenn Lowry writes, I wonder if that's really that Glenn Lowry. Iran is a terrorist organization that hates the United States and always has. They want nuclear power and they want nuclear bombs, but they are not stable enough to have something like that.
Also, they have 3 terror organizations with approximately at least 600,000 worldwide terrorists, the largest terror organization ever accumulated, 15 times larger than ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They have 300,000 physical terrorists in the Middle East and throughout Europe and America. They have 100,000 narco-terrorists. They're killing our children with their drugs through Latin America and then up to America. And then they have 200,000 what I call cultural terrorists, schools, books, media, social media, infecting the next generation to become a death cult. So there's 3 terror organizations that have to be closed down. They're not going to close them voluntarily, so we're going to have to close them for them.
So have you given it a thought now that we've talked about, we've talked before about how dangerous Iran is, and you told me the last time we spoke that the United States probably got rid of about, 80% of their nuclear capabilities. Do you still think that's true?
I think that was a good guess then. It's a good guess now. But they do have some highly enriched uranium, which they could still use somehow. They also could acquire a nuclear weapon from North Korea or Pakistan with money, probably on eBay. If you have enough money, you can buy a nuclear device. And so we just can't sit around and let a bunch of lunatics act out their fantasies. In fact, I think their downfall, just like with Hitler, Iran is Hitler on steroids. Their anti-Christian, anti-Semitism is going to lead to their own demise. They can't even provide enough water for their people in their country. What kind of a government, 93 or so million people, doesn't provide enough water? Yeah. Because they were so consumed with building weapons to destroy America and Israel, they forgot that they actually have a responsibility to run a country. And that's that's part of their undoing. They don't have the technology to compete with America and Israel. They used Chinese copies. China copies American and Israeli technology. So they're using copies with China and Russia against real live advanced weapons of America and Israel. It should be over within a month. The Navy has to get blown up, Air Force blown up, Revolutionary Guards blown up, government blown up, their equivalent of Congress blown up, missile systems blown up. There's no other way. I wish there was another way to do it. It's just we're out of time. Or
How do
they're
we?
out of time.
Yeah. Okay. Can I ask you about the cartel situation in Mexico? Have you? I know you know about this and the multi-front war by Kenneth Abramowitz. And so, tell me a little bit about, if you can, the issues of cartels and it being so close, of course, to the American border and what's
Well,
going on.
yeah. So there's three color-coded bad guys: reds, greens, and blues. The reds are the communists, like China and Russia, pure evil. The people are wonderful. It's just that the governments are pure evil. And then you have the greens, color-coded for the color of mosques, and that's the Islamists. That's Iran, Turkey, and Qatar. And then you have the blues, which are the global organizations, color-coded blue for the UN colors, and that includes the drug cartels. So now all of these three color-coded bad guys are working together: the reds, the greens, and the blues.
Yeah.
So, for example, Iran uses their Hezbollah criminals to ship drugs into Latin America and then up into Mexico to work with their Mexican cartel criminals to then send the drugs into the U.S. and kill 100,000 Americans a year. So this is Iran's fingerprints are all over the place. And as they remember, they want to kill everyone in America. So you kill them one by one. Um, uh, and by the way, the Chinese want to kill everyone in America.
Sure.
And so call it a joint venture between Iran, China, and the cartels to kill as many people as they can. And they've killed roughly 100,000 people a year for 25 years. So call it around numbers, 2 million people dead. And we have to just say no. We can't just sit around and let them kill all of us.
Right. Somebody writes in and says, we have a quote or message. Iranian government, the IRGC, is working with cartels to support their international operations, which is basically what you just said, I think.
Yeah. The bad guys work together. I have an expression that evil people are good at being evil, and good people are bad at being good. So we the good people have to do a better job competing with the people who are evil. The people who are evil, they know what they're doing, and they're doing a good job at it. Their job is to kill everybody, steal the money, and send it to Switzerland. I just saw a report that the top leaders, 3, 4, 5 top leaders of Iran, shipped $500 million apiece in round numbers to their foreign bank accounts in the last week as they want to get their money out.
What do you say to people like this commenter who says USA is the world's capital of terrorism?
Well, I hate to say this, but under the Biden administration, America was the number one financier of terror, because by either by providing money to Iran or not stopping the cartels, not stopping the sex trafficking, the drug trafficking, keeping an open border. But we're no longer the largest funder of terror anymore. That was only under the Democrats. Now the Republicans are stuck holding the bag, and the Republicans have to fix the mess that the Democrats left for them. And that's why,
Again,
that's why Trump is stuck with this mess. As he says, I didn't start these wars, but I'm stuck with them.
so the more we get into the Epstein files and that sort of thing, we have an Epstein Thursday that we do. And the more we get into them, we find out, of course, that he had so many ties to different agencies because he was the financier, we believe, for weapons. And so here we are. The United States and the CIA has been the promulgator of a lot of these weapons systems that now the cartels have. For example, Fast and Furious, when they ran down all the guns down to the cartels in Mexico, one of which was used to kill a Border Patrol officer. And how do we fix that?
Well, the thesis of my book is that we're fighting 21 wars simultaneously. We have 3 bad guys. Actually, they're a group of bad guys, but the reds, the greens, and the blues, the communists, Islamists, and the globalists, and they're fighting us with 7 forms of warfare. And if you multiply 3 times 7, that's 21. The 7 forms of warfare are kinetic, obviously, things blow up. chemical biological, which is what we're talking about, the drugs right now. You can fight with words. I call that cultural terrorism. Number 4, you can fight with boycotts, economics. Number 5, legal. 6, demographics, open border, for example, and 7, cyber. So the bad guys use all 7 forms of warfare against us. And we have to do something. Trump is stuck fighting 21 wars simultaneously, and they have to be fought simultaneously. And think of it as like a big balloon. You can't just take out some of the gas or add some gas to a balloon. It just expands or contracts. You have to go after all 21 simultaneously, and that's a mess for a democracy to handle 21 cans of worms simultaneously.
This commenter says Trump has also not stopped any cartels.
Well, yes. I mean, Trump has publicly said that I'm willing to blow up the cartels in Mexico. And Mexico has publicly said, no, we don't need thanks, but no thanks. We don't need American troops in Mexico. But yes, ultimately, we're going to have to blow up cartels in Mexico or pressure the Mexican government to blow up the cartels. It's not fun, but this is one of the simultaneous wars that we're fighting. Now, bear in mind, behind the cartels, it's as we discussed, it's Iran, it's the Chinese. So we also have to go after Iran. We have to go after the Chinese. But let me just try to simplify it. If we use the non-kinetic forms of warfare, by that I mean cultural war, economic, legal, demographic, and cyber. If we do a better job there, we don't have to blow things up. The only reason we have to blow things up is because we do such a bad job at other non-kinetic forms of warfare. So the thesis of my book is let's use all forms of warfare to defeat our enemies simultaneously. And when we get stuck and we have no other alternative, we have to use the kinetics, and then we have to blow people up. Unfortunately, blow up our enemies.
Somebody writes in and says the economic ties are too big to do anything about Mexico, but in the long run, it will benefit the U.S. Yeah.
Yes. Look, Mexico and Canada, France and England are regarded as, in quotes, allies. We're actually fighting half a war with each of them. They're actually frenemies. By that I mean friends and enemies simultaneously. Canada's importing all the Islamists that they can find and then shipping them into America. And Mexico, directly or indirectly, is bringing in all the drugs they can find and shipping them into America. So we're getting drugs from Mexico and we're getting Islamists from Canada. From England and France, they're being taken over by Islamist forces, and they have nuclear weapons. In a generation, if those Islamists take over, because the Christians refuse to defend themselves, the nukes are going to be pointed to America. We're going to be sending, can you imagine sending Marines into England and France in 25 years in a generation to secure the nuclear weapons so that they're not pointed at us? So the point of the book is let's confront these issues now instead of kicking the can and let our children and grandchildren be stuck holding the bag.
Yeah, thank you, Kenneth Abramowitz. Thank you so much. The book, once again, is The Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam. Right on. Thank you so much for coming on, and have the best week. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Oh, wow. All the people who fought for our civil rights were liberal, says this guy. They used to be more liberal. That's what we used to call classical liberals. And now, of course, the classical liberals are those who are the conservatives. And we are the civil libertarians now. Because you want to conserve something. Libertarians, conservatives, they want to conserve our way of life, Western civilization. If you happen to see Marco Rubio's speech at the Munich conference, the security conference, which I could just magic one of those sound bites up because I couldn't use it one week. I'm going to see Marco Rubio, and because it's worth looking at, to have somebody stand in defense of Western civilization and stand in defense of Western civilization in front of the Europeans. So here's this is a fourth cut I got, and I want you to see it. It's an excellent defense.
This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their heritage, who understand that we are heirs to the same great and noble civilization, and who together with us are willing and able to defend it. And this is why we do not want allies to rationalize the broken status quo rather than reckon with what is necessary to fix it. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline.
Yeah, that's right.
We do not seek to separate, but to revitalize an old friendship and renew the greatest civilization in human history. What we want is a reinvigorated alliance that recognizes that what has ailed our societies is not just a set of bad policies, but a malaise of hopelessness and complacency. The alliance that we want is one that is not paralyzed into inaction by fear. Fear of climate change, fear of war, fear of technology. Instead, we want an alliance that boldly races into the future. And the only fear we have is the fear of the shame of not leaving our nations prouder, stronger, and wealthier for our children. An alliance ready to defend our people, to safeguard our interests, and to preserve the freedom of action that allows us to shape our own destiny. Not one that exists to operate a global welfare state and atone for the purported sins of past generations. An alliance that does not allow its power to be outsourced, constrained, or subordinated to systems beyond its control. One that does not depend on others for the critical necessities of its national life. And one that does not maintain the polite pretense that our way of life is just one among many, and that asks for permission before it acts.
Okay. So, I mean, I have like 5 cuts of Rubio's speech in Munich. It was actually the day he gave it, I watched it twice because I thought, thank God, somebody's just standing up and saying, you know what, Western civilization is the best civilization right now on Earth. That's where you find happier people. You have fewer people getting murdered, maimed, etc. I mean, just for a variety of things. And Christendom and Judaism is responsible for that. And I know we've got a lot of anti-Israel people there, but you can't deny the fact that Christendom and Judaism have been the standard bearers by which all law has been founded. Sorry if that bothers you. It's your problem, actually. So excellent speech. Now, one of the things I wanted to mention today, because I will probably not do it again because it'll just be too old, if you will. And that is this tariff decision by SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, last week. That was on Friday. And this is our first time meeting together since Friday, actually last Thursday. So this was an interesting decision. And, if you watch the court, you know that John Roberts, the Chief Justice, likes to very, very narrowly take a scalpel and take issues and remove, just say, okay, we're only going to rule on this little piece of it. Well, he didn't even do that this time. This time it was this decision was a major pile of poo. It was ridiculous, pretty much. And we know that it was a ridiculous pile of poo because 3 justices, in an opinion written by Chief Justice John Roberts, based their opinion deciding that Trump didn't have the authority to use this regulatory thing called IEPA, based on the major question doctrine. Now, that's a big area of law determining whether or not administrators can make big decisions without consulting Congress. Okay. And what was funny about it, if it wasn't so, it's totally fixable, right? He can use other stuff and say, okay, I'm going to continue the tariffs, and they're going to be done under the auspices of these particular regulatory actions. And Brett Kavanaugh named a few of them. But I wanted to call your attention to a couple of things because it's important. And so, let's see. So they decided, those three justices that wrote John Roberts, and they concurred with John Roberts' opinion, that it was a major questions doctrine that was at issue. The other three, the Harridans of the left, I had such high hopes for Elena Kagan. I mean, she is a smart lady, and she keeps throwing her lot in with these Sotomayor and Jackson. I mean, those other two are activists. At least Kagan comes off as being somewhat judicious. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg was wonderful on the court. Now, she was really super liberal, but what she did was she didn't stake out a position necessarily and argue it as Sotomayor and Jackson do. I mean, they may as well have just stayed in the Supreme Court bar so that they could argue in front of the Supreme Court instead of sitting on the Supreme Court. If you take my meaning, all they do is argue. So here is sort of the thought here from Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Now, we know it's a pile of poo. This decision was just ridiculous. And Brett Kavanaugh was going, this is ridiculous. This is just dumb. I mean, he didn't say those words, but he basically said these words. And he got a little assist, even though Gorsuch did not go with him on the decision. He pointed out that the three leftists on the bench, that's Kagan, Jackson, and Sotomayor, actually did not accord to the Trump administration the benefit of the doubt to use IEPA to do tariffs, even though IEPA, the regulatory law, had been used for that for years, which Kavanaugh pointed out chapter and verse. Instead, what they did do, these guys said, you know what, we're going to let, and they lost on all of these decisions, those same three, except in one case, and that was Breyer doing it. They said it was just fine for OSHA to set a national vaccine mandate for workplaces. They said it was, hey, it's okay for the CDC to use the pandemic to regulate landlord-tenant relations on rental units. I mean, these have nothing to do with each other, by the way. They found magic language to allow the EPA to determine the best system of emissions control, which would have shut down power plants across the country. They did this. And then the final one, this was another one that Gorsuch brought up. They ruled to allow President Biden to forgive student loans based on, it's the pandemic. Let's just forgive all these loans. These all have nothing to do with each other, but they decided because it was Biden in office, they would go ahead and allow that to happen. Maybe some of it was on Trump. I can't remember when the genesis of these lawsuits came about. So instead of according Trump wide latitude, which wasn't wide latitude, it was a longtime foundational practice, they said that the regulations that had been allowed to determine tariffs in the past were no longer malleable enough to be used to give Donald Trump that old give and go. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So Kavanaugh alludes to this, and I'm going to go grab this, make sure you can see it. Kavanaugh goes, in summary, says he, Algonquin, which wasn't a decision, in 1976, Gerald Ford was the president, and it was a tariff on oil imports. That's what that decision was about. Nixon also used it. It had been previously used and came from a decision called TWIA, which was, let me just make sure I got it here. I just want to make sure I say it right. TWA, weapons, basically trading with your enemies act. I think that's exactly what it is. So it had been done for years, using these kinds of tariffs to make sure that there are ramifications between countries that are warring with each other and or under IEPA, which was later branched off from TWIA. It was the ability to do that by declaring an emergency, and a president could do that. And you could change the importation rules if you are the president, and Trump did. He used it to do tariffs, which had been done before. It's crazy that they said, no, he can't do it, even though it had been used before. Okay, so to summarize, Algonquin in 1976 unanimously held the opposite, because I'm reading this because Brett Kavanaugh just trained his 150 millimeter howitzers on the Chief Justice with this portion of his decision. The Nixon and Ford tariffs were based on statutory provisions that did not use the word tariff or duty. There's a long tradition of presidents imposing tariffs as a means of regulating importation and commerce. The predecessor trading with the Enemy Act has long been understood to authorize tariffs during wartime as a means to regulate importation. The history of the Polk, Lincoln, and McKinley tariffs show that tariffs are a means of regulating importation. Chief Justice Marshall, Justice Story, and James Madison stated that the tariffs are a means of regulating foreign commerce. So this is an outward-facing law to our foreign friends and enemies. The dictionary definitions and ordinary usage establish that tariffs are a means of regulating importation. All of that and much more, in my view, overwhelmingly establish that IEEPA clearly authorizes the president to impose tariffs. That said, with respect to tariffs in particular, the court's decision might not prevent presidents from imposing most, if not all, of these same sorts of tariffs under the other statutory authorities. And then he goes into certain examples. But here is where it gets really kind of interesting. So the court's decision is not likely to greatly restrict presidential tariff authority going forward. But the court's decision is likely to generate other serious practical consequences in the near term. One issue will be refunds of billions of dollars that would have had significant consequences for the U.S. Treasury. The court says nothing today. I'm going to make sure you can see it properly. It says nothing today about the court's decision. Now it's going to generate other serious practical consequences in the near term. One will be the refunds. The court says nothing today about whether, and if so, how the government should go about returning the billions of dollars it has collected from importers, but that process is likely to be a mess, as was acknowledged at oral argument. A second issue is the decision's effect on the current trade deals, because IEEPA tariffs have helped facilitate trade deals worth trillions of dollars, including foreign nations from China to the United Kingdom and Japan. Plus, he talks about Justice Roberts' decision here, because he wrote it, which is a novel decision, said Kavanaugh. A novel decision. I mean, it has never happened before in this realm with this law. Never. He's now rewritten it. And he goes, here's the thing, and I footnote it in his dissent. He said, well, the good news is that this is not likely to be precedential. Why? Because it was only reached by 3 of the 6 justices. The rest of them didn't sign on to your decision. Interesting, no? Because they came out, the top 3, the guys that wrote the majority opinion, they said, it's a major questions issue. And the other 3 said, well, it didn't say tariffs in the law, so therefore that can't be used for tariffs. In other words, they didn't agree at all. It may be 6-3, but it ain't no agreement. And so Kavanaugh goes, at least there's that. Oh, this one says, let's see, I don't think tariffs are necessarily bad. I don't either. I used to think it was like, but we're going to pay more now in the future. More things will be made here in the U.S. That's true. It is true. But how much free stuff do you need? Or, I think about, I remember when we started really getting stuff in from China and stuff. Let me just tell you something. I remember because small children, I am the adult in the room. And I thought, all of a sudden I could afford some of these really nice Christmas decorations. I know it's a silly thing. And, I'd go to this fancy shop in Beaverton and just wish that I could afford that stuff. And I couldn't. And then all of a sudden, in the late 90s, all of a sudden stuff comes up and it's like, hey, wait a minute, I can afford this stuff now. And it wasn't because I was hosting a radio show. It was just because they were cheaper. Okay? Yeah. And Trump did immediately come out and put on more tariffs under the other laws that were proposed by Kavanaugh. I have a feeling they knew this was coming. And I like the fact in so many ways. You have to make it in America and not China. What a crime. But the idea is that he knew most of his stuff was going to get bought off. And here's how I know that, because I'm going to do this. Here's the bunch of people who are doing the alternative State of the Union address. These are the folks who are holding at the Washington Press Corps office, by the way, the State of the Swamp. And they're doing an alternative to the State of the Union. And, as I said at the top of the program, I know State of the Union addresses usually sound like they're a grocery list, okay? But I haven't seen that President Trump has done that in the past, but, I've been around here a long time, okay? I know. I mean, it's usually like, well, and then we're going to, and then fill in the blank and whatever. I mean, I remember one time, the first time I ever heard the word for the country, what is it? Former Siam. What is it called now? Whatever. And that was in a State of the Union address by George W. Bush. And it was like, what? Where did this come from? Why are we talking about that country right now? Oh, well, anyway. So who's going to be at this big shindig? Well, Robert De Niro is going to be there. Isn't that amazing? Ron Wyden. God, is he up for re-election or something? He comes out. The guy's a crypt keeper. I'm telling you right now. And by the way, doesn't live in the state of Oregon. He was my former senator, by the way. And we always used to have a sort of a parlor game. Hey, he's got to be the third senator from New York, because when he married this book, she was a millionaire. Okay, and they had kids. And this is Ron Wyden's second family, and he looks like he's just ready for the grave. Mayor Jacob Frey, anyway, he doesn't live there. Anyway, they used to do this really kind of fun thing with his schedule, because, I started looking at his schedule going, he doesn't live here, dude. Okay, he does not live here. He would not be able to be domiciled in the state of Oregon, okay? Catch my drift? And, he spends I can't remember, it's been years, but, he spends X number of percentage time in district when he's not in session. Well, you know how often the Senate is not in session? A lot. They're off session a lot. So it turns out he's in New York more than he is in Washington, D.C. or Oregon. But he could still say, well, 50% of his time or whatever it was is spent in New York, blah, blah, or I'm sorry, Oregon. Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis is going to be there. Oh, golly. Matt Meyer, whoever that is, I mean, I assume he's a governor. I just don't know of what states. I apologize. He's not on my heartthrob list. Mayor Brandon Johnson. Oh, bless his heart. Stacey Abrams. I hope she's paying for this whole thing. She got sent away with was it eight? How many billions did Joe Biden give her walking out the door? I mean, she literally got billions of dollars. Don Lemon, Jim Acosta, Mark Ruffalo, Eric Swalwell, Marianne Williamson, Tom Arnold, George Conway. Oh my gosh. So the Lincoln Project is going to be well represented. Mehdi Hassan. Okay, Seth Moulton's going to be there. Big surprise there. Let's see, who else? John Tester. Okay, you know what this means, though. Since there are so many lawmakers that will not be there, there's going to be plenty of room for the hockey team, because I know that the Speaker of the House was concerned that where am I going to put them, and so they plenty of room. Let's see. Who is Morales Roqueto? Well, whoever Morales is, he's going to be there. Sue Gordon, Eugene Vindman, the man who pretended that President Trump won, did something wrong on the Ukraine phone call. Oh, man. Norm Eison's going to be there, the big brains of the operation. Mr. Lawfare himself. He's going to be there. Charlie Sykes. Oh, bless him. I used to have Charlie on my show before, and he's just gone rogue. I mean, bless his heart. Super smart guy. And he's from Minneapolis or Minnesota. Just, I think, yeah, right? Cool guy. He's just a total Trump hater. I mean, shocker. Kurt Bardella. Ever read This Town and you will get an insight into Kurt Bardella. Let's see. Special thanks. And it's the usual folks who are doing this. You can become a member, but you have to pay for it, which is to say, usually you can just be put on the email list, and I'm on the email list now. So go to defiance.org, S-O-T-U, or SOTU, and make sure. But if you want to get on their Substack page, which is for profit, etc., and you want to do that, you have to pay for it. And the lowest barrier for entry is $1, but I'm still not going to give these people $1. Okay, that was all the Democratic Party right there. Yeah, I can't go on, but I will stop now. Let's see, what are we doing here? Donald Trump is not supporting kids getting sex change and promoting gays in the military, giving billions of dollars to countries that they can't even account for the money. Well, that's good. I mean, I think I count that as a win. Democrat Party is trash. Take me to your leader. Who is their leader? That's an excellent question that you posed there at the end. Let's see. Who's Andrew Trump? I have no idea. If you're walking distance from the Capitol, you're in a blank hole. That ain't nothing. Oh, here, I'll let you see it. You just read it. Okay. What else do we have? J6 was brought on because Nancy Pelosi telling the police to stand down. Well, they all knew. They saw that there were threats. Trump asks for the National Guard. It's up to Nancy Pelosi to keep things going, safety concerned with the salutatorian, who is it? The Sergeant of Arms. They don't do it. They keep the police the police chief of Capitol Police out of the loop on purpose because they have one of their own people hiding the ball from him. And this was you just read what a color revolution is and then just go look at what happened on January 6th. I'm not saying that people didn't do the wrong thing. Some people did, obviously. They just wanted to pin it on Trump. So they planned a lot of that, and that's what happened. And people went along with it too, by the way. They just said, hey, this is great. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to steal a lectern. So there you are. Okay, one final story, because I think this is a cool story. And this is how did I put it? This is our truck driving, moving van heroes. Moving van heroes. I'm going to leave you with a smile today. And these guys were in Phoenix, Arizona, and they caught a woman who had stolen her child from her husband.
Yep, that's her. It looks like her.
So they pull up. She's not the custodial parent. Amber Alert is out for her.
Took a picture of her, and he's like looking at her. And in the thing it said the lady's wearing like pink pants.
The Amber Alert that went out yesterday?
Never? Yesterday? That one.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Should I block your truck?
Huh?
Should I block them?
Should block.
He's going to block him to prevent her to prevent her from leaving the store. They figure out that she's the Amber Alert lady. They recognize the kid. They say, "Should we block her?" Darn right, you're going to block her. Is she an ICE agent? No, she's a criminal. That's what she is.
Yes, I can. It's right here.
Got it?
Show me a picture, because I know what that girl looks like. She ran right past me.
Okay, hold on.
Oh my God, that's her.
Yeah. Is it really?
Yep, that's her. It looks like her. That's exactly what she looks like.
Then the cops come. Heroes, all of them. You know, we like those guys. They can stay. They can, when people just do the right thing, isn't it just the best vindication for what a great country this is? What a great people we have here? I think so. All righty. Okay, I'm going to come back on Thursday. It's going to be Epstein Thursday. I think we're just going to start doing Epstein Thursdays to give you the latest in what's come out with the Epstein files as best I can. We have the Les Wexner discussion. He got in front of I think it's the Oversight Committee, House Oversight, and I saw quite a bit of it. I'm going to have to go through it. It's like 3 hours, and I'll bring you some highlights and or lowlights. Very interesting. I'm not sure it was terribly dispositive, and I'm not sure it was clarifying. But we'll find out. We'll look at it and much, much more as we continue. And so hang in there. All right. I'll see you on Thursday. Have a great week. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. We do not take you for granted. We appreciate every single person who tunes in every week to listen and watch this program. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, live streaming on Rumble, and then on every other podcast platform shortly thereafter when we can port it over and get it over there as soon as we can. All the shows can be found at victoriataft.com, where the censorship regime has been banned by me. Follow me on social media at these names: Victoria Taft, the Adult in the Room podcast, and the Victoria Taft Show. Send media inquiries, or any others for that matter, to victoria@victoriataft.com. And here's a big ask. Would you please subscribe, share, like, comment, recommend, and give this program a 5-star rating where you can? We really appreciate it. We do not take that for granted either. Follow my work at, you guessed it, victoriataft.com. PJ Media, I write tons over there. Flamingo Audiobooks, and of course the radio. I don't do this alone. This show is produced and engineered by Overall Media. 1A Cast is responsible for some of the Adult in the Room podcast's imaging. Logo design by Hageman Creative. The Adult in the Room podcast is produced at Flamingo Road Studios. All rights reserved.